And we have the Canadian IV PMI April 2023 full report on the newsfeed for those of you that are interested. So the NYSE halts Western Alliance on additional information. So just to repeat that there, NYSE halting
Stops
Western
Icebergs
Alliance
by
on
YM.
additional information.
101 contracts.
All right, good morning. You guys hear me in YouTube? Hopefully this is working. You can type something in the chat. Appreciated. Discord should be working too. Thank you, Christopher. Appreciate it. All right, I'm going to run through these disclaimers and I'll be back in 90 seconds.
Risk disclosure statement. There is a risk of loss in trading stocks, ETFs, commodity futures, derivatives, options, forex, and cryptocurrencies. This risk can be substantial and therefore investors should carefully consider their financial suitability prior to trading. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. The software, strategies, chat rooms, websites, and any associated websites or digital venues are for educational purposes only and should not be construed as an express or implied promise or guarantee that you will profit or that losses may be limited in any manner whatsoever. Users of the information accept sole responsibility for the outcomes of their deployment and wholesale Senate Trader, LLC, and any associated companies, agents, management, owners, and customers harmless without reservation. Please trade responsibly. Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, Rule 4.41, hypothetical and simulated trading performance results have certain inherent limitations, some of which are described herein. No representation is being made that any account holder is likely to achieve profits or losses similar to those shown. In fact, there are frequently sharp differences between hypothetical or simulated performance results and the actual results subsequently achieved by any particular trading program. One of the limitations of hypothetical performance results is that they are generally prepared with the benefit of hindsight. In addition, hypothetical trading does not involve financial risk, and no hypothetical trading record can completely account for the impact of financial risk in actual trading. For example, the ability to withstand losses or adhere to a particular trading program in spite of trading losses are material points which can also adversely affect actual trading results.
GC.
Because these trades have not actually been executed, the hypothetical results may have under or overcompensated for the impact, if any, of certain market factors such as lack of liquidity. There are numerous other factors related to the markets in general or to the implementation of any specific trading program which cannot be fully accounted for in simulated trading or in the preparation of hypothetical performance results and all of which can adversely affect actual trading results.
This trade room and its webinars are not intended to mirror my trades or to give specific trade recommendations. The analysis and setups I share are trades and potential trades that I'm taking for myself based on my personal analysis. The goal of this room is to teach traders how to identify specific areas to trade with an edge for themselves, but ultimately the decision is yours. Trading is extremely risky, and if you do decide to follow my personal trades, you do so at your own risk and can potentially lose your entire account and even more. I'm not always profitable and have routine drawdowns on my trading accounts. The spreadsheet you have access to is my personal spreadsheet that I use to enter zone values and ATR values that help me pinpoint exact prices for my trades. You can see when I enter zone prices into the master spreadsheet as well as the prices to enter trades whether you want to go long or short. You have the ability to copy this spreadsheet and enter in your own values and use mine to confirm zone prices until you're able to draw direction to trade, as it has entry prices and stop prices for both long and short positions depending on which way you personally decide to trade. Good morning. Where is my NASDAQ chart? There we go. All right, so last night another bank failed, or yesterday, and markets sold off initially. It was like right at the Globex open, like crude dropped like $4 and then of course regained it all. The old bungee jump, gold ripped, and now it's actually back to the highs. There was a stop run up here. Let me turn this down a little bit. So this is gold is actually in an important zone. These are zones that I draw for the room. They're just based on the four important aspects of charting: tops and bottoms of balance areas, high volume nodes of balance areas, that's where the most trade occurred in a balance area, and directional conviction, and buying and selling tails. So this is a zone where obviously there was a selling tail here that led to a decent down move and then definitely a bigger down move. So and this is also the high volume node of the smaller balance. So this is an area where I will trade my we call them IZZs. It's one of these. It's one of my one of the trade strategies that we're working on. I'll show you this here in a second. This is the IZZY trade. So this is just an inflection zone trade. So they're basically fade trades. So moves into these areas, I will fade when I see the volume set up, and we'll draw this zone here shortly. So I'll draw the zone on the Bookmap, and when it breaks out of there, if it breaks out of there, I get in aggressively. So you guys have watched my webinars before, most likely, and I have two different types of entries. I either enter aggressively or I enter conservatively, meaning I wait for the ATR retest. So this one I would enter aggressively if it presents itself. So you can see here, this is a stop run into an important zone, 246. So I will draw this zone and then trading it accordingly. So, usually stop runs are just the retail trader puking, right? So we call it the dumb money. And don't be offended because I'm the dumb money as well. But we're not as informed as the big money, aka we can't push the market around. That's what makes the smart money, the big money, the smart money, because they can push the market where they want. So basically, this is usually when you see stops. Yes, people can stop into positions, obviously, but when you see, big, large grouping of stops, it's usually pukes, right? Guys puking out positions. So that tells me right there it's potentially not real buying anyway, right? So if you get into an important resistance zone and it's not real buying, those present themselves for excellent shorting opportunities many times. So make sure this is right. So
Stops and Icebergs by YM 100 for
we had
contracts.
a long webinar with Bookmap yesterday. We went over the new market pulse that's coming out for you guys. I don't think the general public has it yet, but we have it in my room. We're testing it, beta testing it, and it's pretty incredible. Seeing a lot of cool things there. And we went over the new Trader Map Pro, but then we went over the different what's the word, modes for this. Actually, this is on reset. So the different ways to view these zones as they come in. So I was on sliding a long time ago, and then they had a bug in it, and I moved to reset. So I've been using reset for a long time, but then I learned yesterday, which I didn't know for about 3 years, that if you're on the reset mode, it basically is resetting based on the minute. Like if I have it set for a minute, it's resetting on like at the minute mark of my clock. Well, I mean that's not really showing you the actual volume event. I mean, it is, but it could go further and it'll like plateau, and it's not really showing you the volume event. It's just continuing till the minute's up, right? So sliding mode is supposed to show you the actual as it comes in, when it starts. When the event starts to when it finishes. If I have it in a minute, that's when it shows. The reset mode is supposed to show basically every minute on the clock. That's what it's a little confusing, but the point is sliding looks like it's going to be more accurate. I'm going to switch back to sliding for now. It's not that big of a difference. Like, I mean, it is in some instances, but like for this one, it's not. So you can see here, I'll have it on sliding, and then I'll move it back to reset, and not much happened there, right? But some of them are huge differences. So the jury's still out on this. I did used to use sliding, so I'm gonna give it a try. But I have another computer running too, and I have a different time frame too. We're gonna get this down so it's more consistent. Because the last thing you want to be doing is questioning the zones and if they're right. And trading's hard enough. And what we're doing in my room and what I've been doing for years works. The way I'm drawing these zones. Granted, I may have been drawing them a little further out because of the time clock than they need to be. But in the worst case scenarios, they're just a little wider than they need to be. They're never going to be more narrow than they need to be. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. It's probably too much anyway for you guys. Most of you guys are like, "What are you talking about?" But anyway, let's trade instead. How about that? So just know I'm on sliding mode right now. 2055.6 is the top of this zone, and this is the spreadsheet that my trade room has access to. That you get access to if you're part of my trade room. I get all these emails asking for access to this. This is one of the perks of my trade room. And then I got all those other guys that are putting in this address into their browser and thinking that's going to work. It's not going to work because this is a protected spreadsheet. So if you want access to it, this thing is a godsend. I mean, it's the best thing that I've had in my trading to make it easier. Guys in my room helped me develop this thing. Based on
Iceberg sells EW
trading
155 contracts.
So much easier. You just put the zone in, you put the ATR, which is extremely important.
South Korea will make an effort to engage with China soon, and we'll also seek opportunities for trilateral cooperation with
volatility of the
Japan and
market,
China.
which is very, very, very important. So I adjust to that. So that's there's a decimal there, but it's basically saying this market's rotating 30 ticks every 5 minutes. That's very important information that you want to have when trading. So I said I would short this aggressively. So basically, the minute this moves down out of here, I will short this at 250.9, and I can put on a 6 contract so that it tells you everything. You plug in your zone, you plug in your ATR, and it tells you exactly what your prices are, and it tells you how much you should be trading based on your account size. So I'm trading these at Apex accounts. each individual for each one of these strategies, just so we can get more accurate winning percentages for all these things. So that's why I'm being very aggressive with these two. If you're trading a real account, please do not be trading 10% of your account on each trade. You are going to blow out your account. It's a 100% guarantee. I'm not saying it's going to happen today, but you're going to run into a day where crap's hitting the fan and you're going to lose your account. The most you'll be trading, if you're trading a real account, is about 2%. If you see a trade you love, you can risk double that, but you shouldn't be risking more than 6% of your account size on a day. I'm not going to go into that rant that I usually go in, but that's one of the biggest problems that traders face. When you do these Apex accounts, we'll go into the Apex. It's a great way to work on your trading, and then if you do well, you're funded anyway. And it's just, I highly recommend it. I stand behind that funding company. I know they're coming out of the woodwork now, but that's the one that I stand behind. I've dealt with some other ones in the past that were just literally just trying to suck the fees out of traders. So Apex, in my opinion, from what I've seen and what I've experienced myself, they legitimately want to fund traders. We'll get into that a little bit, but anyway, I could short this at 25 or 250.9. And I don't think it got down there. That did not get down there. So if that comes back down there, I'm shorting aggressively. We'll go over here in a second what my two different entries are, and I'll show you another trade I put on pre-market. That worked out very well. Hold on 1 second here. So I'm not actually clicking trades on the webinars. It's just for compliance reasons, and there's really, it's just a risk that doesn't need to be taken. I'm telling you guys what I'm doing. You can, these webinars are not to mirror my trades. You can take the trades that I'm taking, but especially these webinars, if I'm still in the trade when I end the webinar, you have no idea what I'm doing. I may change it. There may be a new setup, so on and so forth. So the best thing to do is learn what I'm doing, right? Not copy me. So a lot of traders want to go in these trade rooms or these webinars and they just want to mirror trades. They don't want to think for themselves. It's like, well, that's great, but you're not going to make a living mirroring somebody else. So the idea is to learn what you're doing with these volume setups, or the way I use Bookmap, and you can either trade how I'm trading, or you can kind of curtail it to what your method, and kind of intertwine the two. But mirroring my trading is not the answer. So anyway, I'm not actually clicking on trades on the webinars. I don't do it in my room anymore either, but I'm showing you can see everything on the spreadsheet. So you can either take the same trades as I'm taking, or you can fade me if you think I'm full of it. So that's that. So again, the way I trade these zones, these volume events, and this is from watching thousands of these, I don't know what this is, if this is a bullish or bearish setup, until it's able to push at least an ATR out of the zone. Then I determine which way I'm going to trade, right? So I already know if this pushes to 09, it's definitely outside of the ATR, and that's another thing the spreadsheet tells you. So the ATR right now, and I got to make sure this stays updated. You got to stay on top of this until I get filled. I stay on top of it and I keep updating it. So I know if this market gets to 13, last two digits, that's an official bearish setup because it was able to push an ATR out of there, and it's already heading that way, right? I enter just outside of an ATR because I've learned the hard way. Getting in before the ATR or at the ATR, you get these algos that snap back to the zone, and I got real tired of watching that, so I finally got outside of the ATR for my entries. We actually have a trading strategy in my room that takes advantage of that snapback, and this is the reversion trade where you get in just in front of an ATR, and then you play the move. It's more of a scalping type trade where you're in and you're out, but you're actually playing for that move, and then you're back out at the zone. So there's some guys having some very good success with that trade in my room as well. I used to take them. I can't keep up with them anymore. They're just because it's a very fast trade, and I'm trying to trade all these different trading strategies now, these positions. So these are all position trading strategies that I'm trading longer term. I can't keep up with the reversion, but there's a couple guys in the room that are just crushing it. So that's a great trade for some guys mentally just can't. I've conditioned myself, but it took me a long time to sit through this nonsense, right? This algo, you can see this touched the exact. I mean, this is exactly what they're trading in the room. This is the
Stops and Icebergs by YM 101 contracts.
You see right here, if you were playing the reversion trade there, you would have been long at 16. You're out at 40, right? Let's see where that traded to. It traded just below 16 and we're right back to 40. So this is the exact thing that we're trading in the room, right? It's just, it's unbelievable how these algos snap these markets back to the volume amounts. So anyway, this is an official, I believe this is an official bearish setup though. If this comes back out, I can put on two. I never got filled on my original short because it never got an ATR plus 15%, right? But it did trade down to 13, right? I think. Let's see, real close, shockingly. It's just amazing how these come. You missed it by one tick. So this isn't an official bearish setup yet, but I mean, potentially is. Let's see what the ATR is. Remember, you got to keep updating your ATR. It's definitely not because this is going up 3.22.
Russell Ice Iceberg
Right,
by
so now
RT,
it's gotta get to 11. So I still can trade this on
151
the long side
contracts.
as well because I didn't get an ATR below there yet. If you're confused, it'll slow down a little bit on the webinar, but you know, this is what I do in my trade room every day. So I can potentially take trades to the upside here too, but I need
Wheat stops stop sells EW, 201 contracts.
Going on a wheat. We'll head over there in a second. But I'll wait for an ATR retest failure, and that's a different trading strategy. That's called the BARF, where I just trade any volume event that I get blind ATR retest failure. So
S&P Ice Iceberg by ES,
we'll let that develop.
1186 contracts. Russell Ice Iceberg by RT, 161 contracts.
Not so much. All right, so
So Western
right
Alliance
at the open, there was a
becomes
bunch
the
of
latest
sell
US
ice
bank
or
to
NASDAQ.
explore a
Let's see what's
potential
going on
sale
here. It looks
going to
like it's breaking
FTs. We did
below.
see their stock get halted
There
by
was
the
waves of
NYSE
sell
awaiting
ice
additional
here. I
information.
just made this
No
one big
official
zone. It looks
confirmation
like
yet, but according to the
taking
FT,
ATR
Western
below
Alliance
here, and now I
becomes
can
the
trade
latest
this-
US bank to
potentially trade
explore a
this
potential
setup.
sale.
This is actually
So we'll get the
an
FT
important
piece
zone.
out as
It
soon
looks
as
like it's
possible.
about to blow through it, so it looks like I'm going to be going short here. So ATR is up to 20.74. So to make that setup a bearish setup, it had to touch 18.
Dow Ice Iceberg sell YM,
Definitely touched 18.
102 contracts.
What's going on here? Is there a number out? Why is the liquidity all pulling out of the trade, out of the book? So something's out. Of course, we'll be the last to know after the market like rips 100 points. Then we'll know. But something just came out there because you can see here. You can see all this liquidity that was in the book. Looks like a Christmas tree, and then it looks like a black hole. It's coming back in now, but something just came out somewhere. So you know, these are markets. You got to realize that, you know, you can have the best trade on ever, and if something comes out contrary to your trade, some
Western
kind of
Alliance
keyword
halted
comes out
again
of,
after
comes out of somebody's
shares
mouth,
sink
as we
30%
call the
on the
Fed, when these
FT
Fed
report.
speakers drop these tape bombs and so on and so forth. All bets are off, right? So anyway, this did retest the zone. Something came out, but it didn't
According to
violate
Moody's
that zone to the
Analytics,
upside.
US
So I can still
GDP
short
growth would
this. So
be
if this comes back, I'm gonna short
1.61% in
it,
2024
30
under the Republican debt limit plan
15.
versus 2.23% otherwise.
130.15, I should say, and I can put on. I could put on 3. I'll round up to 4 MNQs. Just make sure this is right.
Moody's Analytics also adds House Republican debt limit plan would meaningfully
You know,
increase the
I need to-
likelihood of a
sorry,
recession.
Let me turn down my internal volume too in case this squawk dude's talking over me. If it's still too loud, let me know and I will turn off the squawk guy. It's good to hear, but we're always getting. I mean, any news service, you're always the last to know anyway. I mean, unless you have algos that are reading keywords. All right, so I'm going to short 4. I'm going to put on 4 contracts at 30.15. I'm risking 76 points based on this trade. It doesn't matter what I'm risking. I just change my size, right? I'm not opposing what I want to risk on the market. I'm letting the ATR and the volume event tell me what I need to risk, and I just change my size. I don't change this.
Moody's also adds the Republican plan would cost 790,000 jobs by the end of 2024.
Not entries, but stops. Let me put this in before I go on that rant. 30.15. 1 second. This is the BARF trade. So we'll go over that. That is working there. All right. So the BARF's in play. The BARF is just, again, any volume event. And that was all the sell ice that came in pre-market, or down right at the open. I could potentially put a lit trade on too, but it's
time we
not
get the EIA
liquidity,
natural.
meaning that these are magnets. There's an actual specific trade called the lick trade.
Just seeing
We
that
have all
Western
these
Alliance
funny
Bank has
acronyms to
hired
help
advisors.
make us laugh and to make them memorable. So that's the lick trade, but that liquidity is too close. So that the risk reward for me for that liquidity is not worth it, right? So if I were to short,
So according
got
to
in at
Financial
30.15,
Times,
well,
Western
the
Alliance
liquidity's
Bank
right
has
here.
hired
So it's only
advisors
15
to
points.
explore
So
its
I'm risking
options.
76 points to make 15. That's not good trading, right? So if the liquidity was lower, I put on that trading strategy.
At
but I see nothing
10:30 a.m.
below here.
Eastern Time,
So
we
the
get
only
the
thing that I have
EIA
going
natural
here for
gas
trading
change
strategies is the barb
forecast
trade, and that's just a
52
blind.
BCF on the
Here's your
price
IM event.
79
Here's your
BCF.
ATR. Here's your retest. If it fails, I'm going short. All right, so that's working. I think I heard something in ES. So remember, you want to have these alerts up too, because I hear things, but I don't hear things, right? So I heard something fire off, but I didn't even know what it was. So we had S&P, Russell, and Dow in here. They all hit threshold. So I just go to File, Alerts, and that'll pop up that so you can visually see what happened as well. All right, so let's see what's going on here in Mr. ES. So you can see here 1,200 contracts came in.
Just seeing that the New York
1200
Stock
buy ice, so
Exchange
we
has
mark up the
resumed
zone
Western
and
Alliance Bank
trade it. This is
and have again
pretty large
halted
zone
Western
here.
Alliance Bank.
So I just want to see what this looks like on the reset mode. I've been using reset mode for so long, and I just want to make sure that I'm seeing the same stuff or pretty close. Let's see how much this changes on this. Again, the last thing I want to do is be confused out of
S&P
the zones.
Iceberg
Yeah,
by
you can
ES,
see the difference
739 contracts.
Yeah, that's not what I want to see. So, you know, if I'm drawing the zone off the reset mode, then I'm drawing it here, right? Basically started there. Use your crosshair. Here's the spike of the subchart. Started there to there.
Bonds Ice Iceberg
and
sells
actually
EB,
really
534
even go that far,
contracts.
I'm not even getting that, but that's the zone. And now if I change it to sliding, see, this is exactly what I don't want. I may just stay at reset because that's, I mean, so you can see this just kept. That means, I mean, this is a huge, huge difference, right? So it's like now making this zone.
And we have posted the
Dow Ice
Financial
Iceberg
Times
by
piece on the
YM,
feed for all those
103
interested.
contracts.
I'm bringing it all the way up to
Gold
almost 80.
stocks
So it's
stock
like
by
8
GC,
points more on the zone.
186 contracts.
This isn't making a lot of sense to me. Hold on a second. I just want to see something here. Sorry, I shouldn't even be doing these on these webinars because I don't want to confuse newer traders, but this is. We went over this yesterday in my trade room. We had a webinar with Bruce and one of the developers. I'm just going to leave this at reset because I'm not understanding why. Even with reset, you think you would see some spikes up to here, right?
Gold Ice Iceberg by
Right, in the same
GC,
place. So
151
that's not happening. So I'm just gonna play off of
contracts.
this zone here until I can get this clarified with them more. I've been on reset for years, so I'm just going to leave it. This one was pretty similar. Again, I'm not trying to confuse you guys, which you probably are. So I'm just let's just bring these back to reset. Because that's how I've been trading these. So that did incorporate all of these, right? So you had, this was right at the open. This was like, that was only 120, but you had 151. You had another 221. You had another 176. That's this zone here. So I'm okay with that zone. So this will be the ES zone, and you can see here is the usual, the ATR retest.
At 10:30
There's
a.m.
more than-
Eastern Time, we
looks
get
like
the
there's two
EIA
ATR.
natural
Look at that,
gas
4071
change
down to
forecast
4068 is my
52
zone.
BCF on the price 79 BCF.
Gold stocks stock by GC, 245 contracts.
So, you know, like I said, I've been trading these for years. It's been successful. There's guys in my room killing it. You know, the age-old adage, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? So it's like, you know, I need to see more examples of the sliding to switch to that because I've been using this for so long. So if, you know, I'm using reset, you guys can use whatever you want. There's different modes here. You know, yesterday we were talking about using exponential mode, and I laughed. Like, this is not. This mode's not tradable, right, for what I'm doing. That just shows you the whole, not exponential, I'm sorry. Exponential you can trade, that's what I used in my original, the sum mode. Like, this tells me nothing, right? This tells me, yeah, there was some bias here, but this is not actionable. So that's why I'm using
Moody's
I'm on resets.
analyst Mark
So last time
Zandi
I
says
talked
the
about
US
this webinar,
government
I'm not going to keep
is most
going back
likely
to
to
this.
run
I'm
out
using
of
resets,
cash
what I've
to
been
pay
using for 4
bills on
years. It
June
works
the
fine.
8th.
Dow Ice Iceberg by YM. 103 contracts.
All right, so this
Treasury
obviously got an
share
ATR
declines,
above here.
5
It's got
and
up
10-year
to
yields are at today's lows.
77 quarter, got up to almost 80. So this is an official bullish setup. So now if this, I'm not just jumping in along here though, right? I need to see. Actually, this may be an Izzy. We'll look at that. Maybe I should have already been long, but anyway, it did return to the zone. So if it moves back out of here, I will take a long. But not until then, right? Those are my rules for the conservative entry. And let me see. I think this may be an inflection zone. NES. Let's take a look. And this is an inflection zone. So
Russian
technically,
oil
I should already be
exports
long
from Western
the first move out of
ports
here.
are
We
to
just went over
reach
this
a
in
4-year high
gold,
of
right? So this is an
2.42
important
million
zone.
barrels
This
per
was
day in May, according to
didn't
sources.
quite get to this high. This was like 15,000 buys that closed one day, but this is where you had a small tail, and this is what started this huge directional conviction that led to this up move eventually, right? So this is came back here, bounced with a buying tail, and it's back here again, and this is a straight move into this. This is telling you a little bit about the character of this market today. These zones are very important zones. That's why they're called inflection zones. If you see markets rip right through them, I mean, this one ripped and retested, but that's telling you something's up. Most of the time, especially in this market environment, how every single move is like a bungee jump. If it doesn't even pause at that zone, that's giving you information. If this rips through here, that's information. And then when it moves back into these zones, those are really, really good shorts, right? So, but according to my rules, we're into this zone. If this moves back out of that volume event, I should already be long. I'm going to take a long. All right. Did I get filled? All right, so I did fill all my shorts, so my favorite, the dueling positions, but as this is what it is. I'm not conflicted like, well, I don't know, this is looking like a bearish setup in Q, but ES is in a zone, and that might be bullish. I mean, I just follow. This is what having a trading strategy is. You just put the trades on every single time. If you have an edge, they work out in the long run, just like a casino. We talk about it every single week, right? So I just got short NASDAQ on the ATR retest failure, so I'm short that one. And there's a potential that I can go long, yes. Do I like having dueling positions on? No, but I'm following my strategies, right? And if you have an edge, you just keep putting the trades on. Now, if this market's able to push an ATR below this zone, what's this? I didn't even hear that. Is my volume down? Oh, you know why? Because sorry. We had a new volume event here, guys. Sorry. So let's do
1 minute remaining.
Again. Let's see what this is. This is 1,000. I had my volume turned down, so what I'm going to do here, this looks like this is, so this is a new event, so I could trade, because usually say we're trading out for this original event, right? We were looking at this first, pretend this second one hasn't happened. Well, I couldn't short off of this event because this market got an ATR above here. That's my disqualification for a short. Right, so if this did come down and got an ATR below, I couldn't short it because it's already proven it can push out of here, and that to me is a disqualifier. But we now have a new event, right? So I'm going to draw this new event. It's pretty much in the same area, but I can short off of this event.
10 seconds.
Right, so let's, because it's new, it's the most recent event.
Soybean Ice Iceberg buys ES 156 contracts.
52 BCM.
Internal volume is way down. All right, so you can see that started here, popped up to here. The majority of it came in here. And just use your crosshair. So I would make this zone down right here. So there you go. You got 41, 71, 50 to 69.
S&P Ice Iceberg by ES 704 contracts. S&P Stops LES 686
you got new
contracts.
information coming in. I could potentially still short this if it retested this zone, but I'm going to draw these new zone. It never retested,
And we
so
have
I didn't
posted
miss
the
anything
weekly
here as a short.
EIA natural gas
But
storage
now you got new
report on the
information.
feed
Remember,
for
I
all
am
those
short NASDAQ.
interested.
Quickly, I just want to see what some areas I've been potentially getting out of that short. These are Ludwig levels. We'll go over those. The second most powerful thing I've ever seen in my trading. We are very close to the blue lug here. Not very close. Got another 40 points, but this market, I'll be watching this closely. This gets down to here and it struggles at all, I am out. That's how powerful these things are. I will be out of my short, and I just wait for new lugs, or it's going to bounce. Speaking of which, let's get our torture waterboarding going. Mr. Tick Strike. I can't trade without it, but I tell you guys every week it's pretty rough when you're watching a losing position go against you and you get to listen to it too. But we'll keep an eye on this. This is very important for this. Obviously, it's telling me what these FANG stocks are doing. These are meters are set from 1 to 15, so I have them. I mean, they go from 1 to 15. So 1 is the lightest buying and selling. It's an algo that's telling you the amount of the buying and selling and the speed that the orders are coming in, so you can kind of know when there's the real activity going on. I have all these set at 11, so they will not light up until at least an 11 threshold is hit. That just tells me when serious buying and selling is coming in, right? So very important, but it drives me crazy sometimes. All right, let's draw this zone here. This looks like this is a double whammy. Okay, so these are one of my 6 distinct setups that I talk about in my trading course. You can get that on the Bookmap Marketplace or on my website. I am coming out with a new one soon. It's just taking a long time because I'm having to have things like with the modes and everything else that we've been talking about today. I got to get everything squared away, but that'll be out soon. Anyway, you had the dumb money puke. We already talked about the retail trader puke into the waiting hands of large buy ice. That is usually inherently a bullish setup. Doesn't mean it has to be. And if it breaks, if this doesn't hold, that's giving you some really important information as well, right? So we already know how these markets rip through a couple of the important inflection
US
zones.
natural gas futures hold losses down
already have a
2.3%
bearish view
after
of this
EIA
market
reports a build in line with
today.
estimates.
Overall, I do as well, but let's see. Let's get this. I usually try to color my double whammies dark blue. Sorry, this mouse is extremely slow when I use this YouTube broadcasting stuff.
Soybean ice iceberg buys ES 153 contracts.
Green setups too, messing around in here. But all right, so that's your newest zone here, and I will trade off of that. I'll show you a variation how I can still go short off of that first zone that we just talked about, or not the most recent before this one. I want to check internals, so you should be checking this right away. So this is interesting, right? This thing is taking a complete nosedive. Actually, that was yesterday, but today it's almost trend down. So if you see that your ADD, this is just advanced decline for all the stocks in the NYSE, the main universe of stocks, the whole universe of stocks, I should say. Here's the VIX. Wow, this thing's slow. If this gets down to minus 2,000, you want to be very, very careful of taking, or more, you want to be very careful of taking longs. Yeah, you're going to get an occasional pop in the market, but it'll pop, and then like a shallow pop, and then the big move will be down. Shallow pop, big move will be down. So be very careful taking. You can take longs, but I'm telling you, you'd be best served to be getting out of your longs pretty quickly, because this just means you're fighting against the overall market, right? What I am not seeing here, oh yeah, I am seeing it, so that's okay. So this is looking, so you want to look at your NYSE tick too. These are just the stocks that are up ticking, down ticking. I'm just trying to get started today. You can see this thing has been basically below zero the whole time, and it's starting to hit negative 1,000. When you see the ticks hit a negative 1,000 or more, that's big money, aka program selling. So they're selling the whole baskets of stocks, things like that. So it's another thing you want to watch. Like if you're in a day that it's ranging and the market's moving down, you're like, yeah, I think this is just going to just range back. Well, you want to make sure your tick is, if the tick can't get above or below 500, then you got a very good chance of one of these days, right? But if you're seeing the tick continuously pound the 1,000 mark, you're probably going to see one of those days, right? So
Nat gas stops LNG 170 contracts.
some natural gas stuff too. I think that number just came out there. What did I do here? Okay, so gold I never got filled on that short, but this did move an ATR out of there. So if this retest, actually something new came in too. So we'll come back to that. Gold is the least of my concerns right now. Market is a clown show. All right, so what just happened here? So this bounce, so this double whammy worked, right? I mean, we just talked about how it's usually a bullish. a bullish event, if you see the dumb money selling, which isn't real selling, it's guys puking into the waiting hands of buy money, you can see this thing ripped right out of here, right? I didn't take that aggressively here, even though I was supposed to, right? Hold on, this was an Izzy. I think I just missed it. I got wrapped up in my little rant about the, yeah, so I just missed a trade here. I was supposed to be long into this zone. I should have already known that. So this was the inflection zone. I just got done talking about it, so there's no excuse for missing this trade. So I should have been in this zone. I don't even think I put the zone prices in. See if I can still get in this thing. 66 down to 63.25. So I already know this is a bullish setup because it's able to push out of there. 4,063.25. And your ATR in here is 6.65. So the Izzies, like I talked about earlier, hold on one second, guys, are aggressive entries. So I needed to be long at 73.75 with this current ATR. And that still didn't get up there. So I did not miss a trade yet. I got real close. 73.50. So I did not miss a trade. But let's see what the validation price to make this a long. So 72.75 makes this most recent setup a long setup. So that is in the cards, right? So this setup's done. I was going to potentially short this one on a retest. Why is that done? Because this was able to push an ATR above here, right? So now I'm watching this for that. I can play the barf trade. I can play, these are longs. I'm not thrilled about going long here, but you know, ADD is not trend down yet. I'm just going to get rid of this so it doesn't confuse everybody. All right, so this is the most recent setup, right? So that, guys,
Saudi
this is the
Arabia
pattern.
sets June Arab light crude oil OSP to Asia at plus
right?
$2.55 a barrel
ATR,
versus Oman and
retest the
Dubai
zone. This is the
average,
exact
according
trade
to
that my trader was
sources.
going to be killing it today if they're playing the reversions, because there's been like 4 just on this webinar that I've seen. Anyway, we do this. I'm going
German
long barf,
2-year
and I'm going
bonds
long
extend
the
gains,
Izzy trade.
yields down
Izzy
14
trade
basis points
is
at
an aggressive entry, but it never got
2.5%.
up there anyway. So I'm going to put both of those in right now. If it comes back out of this zone, I'm going long. Yes, 73.75. Just keeping them. We're going to keep an eye on this ATR to make sure that's accurate until I get filled. It's still 73.75, so I can put on 6 MES. 73.75. That's that, and then I'll put on Izzy trade. And we'll go over the bond trade I put on earlier. That worked very well. Here shortly. All right, this is interesting. None of these are going off, by the way. All right, so that's working. I'm already short NASDAQ, so there's a chance I'm going to have dueling positions on. But again, I'm just following these independent strategies. Each strategy has its own, its own makeup. So once again, here's the retest of the zone. Guys, like this is what these markets are trading off of, right? I mean, you can see even these algos, they snap it back and then it rejects right off the bottom. I mean, it's unbelievable how often it happens, and it's every single market. Every futures market reacts the same way. You just need to know your thresholds. You need to know, if you're doing the ATR trade, some markets go more than the one ATR, so you want to be trading either the 2s or the 3s. That's all stuff you can learn in my room. But point is, it's uncanny how often these markets do this and then that, right? All right, so I'm short this. I'm short NASDAQ. And if this doesn't move back up to 73.75, then I'm not going to go long this market. Right? These are my rules. So a lot of guys would be like, well, you said this was a bullish setup and it's back in the zone. Why would you not just take your long there? Well, because I've learned the hard way that when I would do that, being greedy, like, well, why do I need to let this move back out 7 points before I get long? Like, why would I just get long right here? Because I've seen too many times where it just does that, right? So if this is able to push out, that just gives me confirmation that this setup is legit and it's legitimately a bullish setup. You see what I'm saying? And this is exactly what it's starting to do. So we will watch that. I'll show you a quick bond Izzy that I took earlier in bonds.
U.S.
Worked out
Treasury
very
official
quickly,
says
which
the
is
U.S. banking
unheard of.
system has
We'll come
substantial
back to
liquidity
grains
and
here. I think I
deposit
missed a
flows
bunch
are
of stuff. You can tell,
stable.
look at these volume events, and this market just ripped out of here. This looks like a retest of the zone. Hold on, guys. Sorry, I do not know what's wrong with my throat lately. I apologize if you have to hear me clear my throat 85 times on the webinar. Might have to go to the old doctor for that one. All right, so anyway, this was the setup earlier. I took this, came down here. There was massive buy ice. I'm sorry, massive sell ice. This was a broken ice event. You had 1,300 sell ice here into an inflection zone. So remember, I take those aggressively, meaning the minute it breaks an ATR plus 15% out of there, I'm in. And that was this trade here. So remember, these are zones, they're not exact prices, right? So this came, I can actually have brought this down too, because this is where this gap, so I should update it a little bit, but this was in that zone. I saw the broken ice, and I got in immediately right when it broke out of that zone, and I caught a nice trade. And I got out at the lug, the blue lug. And we'll go over these here too shortly. You can see these things are ridiculously powerful. Why is this not working? What's going on here? Not sure why this is not. That's interesting. Unresponsive. Great. Let's try this again. I don't know what's going on here. Can you guys still hear me? Or did I lose my internet? This is not good that I can't connect to my other computer because I want to show you guys what I'm looking at. Come on. You can still hear me? Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure I'm not losing. Yeah, that's where I don't know what's going on with this Google remote. I never get problems. I have problems with this. That's not good for you guys, because I mean I could see it. It's on my other computer, but I wanted to show you the screen. So anyway, this was at the time. This was the blue lug, but then you can see this was a barf trade too. I just stopped watching it because of the webinar. But then there was more bias here. That's this zone. Then you had your ATR, your retest, your failure. You could have been long off of that too. And this is a full. These are huge moves for bonds. That's usually sitting in a 2-tick range for 9 hours. Like to move a full point like that, that's. I'm kind of upset I missed that trade, to tell you the truth. But all right, so still not filled in ES. Remember the entry point is 73.75 to go long. All right, hopefully this is going to work. Come on, you can do it. There you go. So that's the squawk page that everyone gets access to, and you can see this is the new market pulse. We'll maybe go over that. I don't know if they want me talking about it before it's available to the public. The first market pulse is, but this one's even better because it's showing you net buyers and sellers versus the way they have it now. You're seeing them individually, and it's just not easy on my brain. So I recommended they show you net, and that's what they did. So, all right. So I just wanted to show you bonds here. We'll talk about these levels. This needs to be refreshed. But at the time it got up there, and you can see it did bounce off that Lugwood level, right? So this is why I got out at the time. So I got long down here, came up here, touched it, I got out. It did pull back a full like 12, 13 ticks. Again, this market's moving like gold or something today. It's pretty unheard of. Anyway, came back up, formed new lugs. When it forms new lugs and holds the prior red, directional yellow, your thesis would be prior red. So this is all. I did a webinar with Mrs. Ludwig. I can share that too, but I'll share that here in a second. Remind me if I forget. But anyway, these things are the second most powerful thing that I've ever seen. You can go to our website. I know I show this every webinar, guys, but there's always new traders on here. Put in your name, information, say you saw a Bookmap webinar, you get special pricing, you get a 3-day trial. And once you see them, you'll be like, yeah, I can't live without these things. So I mean, when these things go down in my room, so she's in my room too. So, if you ever have a problem, you just say, hey, Miss Ludwig, I'm having a problem. And she addresses it right away. So that's a great resource to have. But, members of my room, you can't, and same here, like you feel blind if you're trading without these things, right? So you come up with a thesis based on the reacting to the lugs, and then you use these for targets, support and resistance, so on and so forth. They're absolutely insane on how these markets bounce off the lugs. You can see here, let's see if this formed new lugs. Nothing yet. So you can see Russell's just hanging out at S blue lug, but I can show you probably 500 instances of the markets like bouncing off the lugs and so on and so forth. Like yesterday. So you had this number, or whatever happened. It was the bank news. I don't know why crude got killed so bad, but crude swiped down $3 on the Globex Open. And we talk about in the Pamela Ludwig webinar I did with her, the one-on-one, how when the markets blow through lugs and they don't have the conditions to form new lugs and they get back above, that's always like a very bullish signal. In this case, you could see
Dow Ice Iceberg
straight
Sell
to the right.
YM.
And then sat here all night.
124
Western Alliance
contracts.
says the reports
what
of
I'm
a
talking
deal
about.
talks
S&P
were
stocks
absolutely
stopped by
false.
ES. 584 contracts.
So this is good for there's a lot of reasons. Why does liquidity keep pulling? What is going on? Is there another news story that we'll find out after the market rips
Just seeing some upside in
100 points?
S&P
Like,
after
what?
that.
There's something out, guys. Like this is what and then here you go. These are keywords. Some algos picked up keywords and just swiped this thing, forced these stops to come in. What in the hell? All right, let me make. I don't think I put my stop in for now. I mean, I'm short Nasdaq, so let me put that in. That's still just struggling in this zone, so I'm still okay. But I don't think I put that stop in. Let's make sure that's in. But I am long two different strategies in ES, so. But there is a tape bomb. Something just came out. And I don't know what it is. We'll find out eventually when it's too late, obviously. All right, so I'm out at 91 quarter on this one. 91 quarter. Doesn't help I have the squawk down. Oh, there it is. This is what it was. So guys, I had the squawk going, and any
S&P Ice Iceberg Sell ES. 706 contracts.
It's great after the fact, but it was too late, right? So this is exactly why the market just. Actually, I don't know why would it rip though. The report of deal talks absolutely false. Well, if they're not having a deal, if they're not getting a deal, why would the market not sell off? Oh, because the most ironic outcome is the most likely. I don't know. I would think that would be bearish, right? If they're not getting a deal for a bailout, I don't know. But guys, tape bomb, this is part of trading, right? It's like you can have the best position on, something comes out contrary, these algos read the keywords, and it just rips the market, right? Somebody in here there you go. Somebody's like, yeah, that's not bullish. I'm going to go ahead and put some sell ice in here, some hidden sell ice. That was threshold. I got to 700. All right, so the worst case scenario is here. We can trail the stop based on this new setup, my long stop here. So you can see this is pretty, let's see here. So this is kind of a delayed Dumb and Dumber. You had the buy stops that were triggered by that news, and then you had sell ice coming after that. Let's draw the sell ice. I'm going to trail my stop to that. So a little crazy, day after the Fed rate meeting, you got tape bombs hitting. You may say, today is just I'm not willing to risk my accounts on random tape bombs hitting because there's already been a couple today. Nothing wrong with taking a day off. Right? Don't get frustrated. Don't crush your account. Don't go into a rabbit hole of despair because you're getting killed on a day like today. Right? Like you got to sometimes just say uncle and say, you know what, you can take your nonsense and I'll be back tomorrow. Right? All right, 40.8250 to 40.76. So now I'm going to trail my stop for my long to this new setup minimum, and I could potentially trade off the setup too, obviously. So that's 40. Let's say 40.82. 82.50 to 76. I better hurry up here because this is coming back here in a hurry. So the people with common sense are like, wait a minute, that's not a bullish story. Let's sell this. I don't know why that market ripped. You're never going to know, guys. Like, this is why fundamental trading is just you can't do it because it's nonsensical. These markets are nonsensical sometimes, so you have to base your trading off of what you're seeing in the real time volume, right? I mean, I would have bet the thing would have sold off 50 points on that. No, we rally, right? So I play my volume events like I always do. I have my rules, and I put my trades in. All right, so if I were to go long off of this setup, I would go long 90.75. We'll get into that. But my stop on this new setup is 67.75. So before this new event, my stop for this setup was an ATR below this event, right? It was down here. I can't remember the exact price, but it was probably somewhere right around 56. Well, I can now move it all the way up to 67.75 based on this new setup. So I'm trailing my stop for something that happened in the market, not because I just don't want to give back money, right? So I'm going to put those in, and if it comes back down there, then I stop out onto the next trade. 67.75. And I take a small loss versus I would have taken a much bigger loss with that original stop. And it's all because of a new volume event. 67.75. All right, so I was long two strategies, and I was long both the IZZY inflection zone, and I was long the BARF. So I have, and that's Apex 54. We'll go over Apex here a little later. It slows down, tape bombs stop hitting. So now I'm watching this zone too. So there's, if I do get stopped out of this long, there's potential that I can go what? Short off of the new event. So let's just let this play out. I'm still short Mr. NASDAQ. I'll call him the nice name today. Usually I have a different name for him. Mr.
Western
NQ.
Alliance is again
Remember,
halted
my
for
stop
news
isn't-
pending.
See how what I'm doing here though? Like I still may get stopped out, but I don't let the randomness. I mean, this wasn't random. This was the tape bomb. But you know, a lot of these times, these algos can pick up this size just like we can see this where the big money came in here, right? And then when nothing's going on, they start to play their games. Where they
Russell
take all
Ice
their money.
Iceberg by RT. 167 contracts.
Coming in, Russell will go over there. But this is just random movement, right? So that's why I make the market push back through the volume event more than an ATR outside there to stop me out. That's how I avoid the algos the best I can. If you want to put on a trade and you're like, okay, I think I got it, I'm gonna stop. I don't want to risk up to there. Well, you're very likely to get stopped out on nothing, nonsense. This is what these algos do. They know what traders do. They know the retail trader trails their stop. Why do you think when everything stops coming in, it starts doing this? Because they know no one's going to stop them from playing their games in certain areas, and then they just whipsaw you to death. If you can understand that, one, you don't get stopped out of the stuff. Two, this stops to bother you. It stops bothering you as much because you expect it, right? I fully expect to be tortured in almost all my trades because we're playing against computers, right? The algos are 80+% of the trade. So if you understand that, you're not losing your mind on every rotation. So that my stop's up there, 94, wherever it was, I said, and that's where it stays. If I get a new event, I can trail it. I don't think there was no new event, so now we wait. All right, let's see. There's some other stuff. Let's check out. I think I missed something in crude too. I'm definitely interested in crude. Let's look at crude first here. So I'm watching, I have 17 markets that I follow. I trade actively, probably 12 of them, 10 of them. But you can see why I can't do the reversion trades especially on the webinars, because I'm trying to cover all these different markets. And I thought I heard something here. But I can tell if I heard something. You go to your text alerts and see if it was on there. I definitely want to look at NatGas. We'll go back there. So Russell was the most recent, so let's look at Russell. If you guys got questions, throw them in the YouTube channel, and I'll answer them the best I can. All right. So this is the new market pulse that I was talking about. The thing's pretty incredible. I'm not going to get into that yet because you guys don't have access to it. But when they do release it to the public, we will talk about it. I'm seeing some pretty incredible things with that as well. All right, so this was earlier. Let me make sure this is on reset right now. I just don't want to start messing with my stuff I've been using for 4 years. 3 years. All right. All right, so you just heard this buy ice come in. Here comes keep an eye on the FANG stocks here. That's not what I wanted. All right, so let's draw this zone. So I can tell you guys, take your bubbles off the screen, use this slider. This is if you want to be ridiculous. And if you want to get them off, slide them all the way back down. I need them off. You want to get your last price line on the chart so you can follow what prices occurred in this spike. Right, you right click on the chart, configure visible components, make sure last price is checked, right? And that just helps me draw my zones better. So I started coming down here, in here. Let me get that off the this. So that looks like it popped up to there. So I'm trying to incorporate the prices that follow here. I know this plateau, I'm not going to get into this. It gave me a headache yesterday talking about this, but that's the way I've been drawing them. This zone's probably a little wider than it needs to be, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it, like I told you. So there's a guy in my room, I've been talking about him in the last few webinars, just absolutely killing it. He's made like $500,000 in the last 2 months trading these, and it's like he's doing exactly how I'm drawing these zones, and I'm like, Lance, if you're listening, do not watch this webinar, because you guys, if you're making money doing something, you don't want to be changing anything. You start having drawdowns, and then you can be like, okay, why is this not working? But if he starts to change what he's doing, like with, that would be the biggest mistake of his life, I think. So anyway, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm drawing my zones like I always draw them as of now. If I keep seeing evidence that I need to be switching to a different mode or a different time period, I need to see that, extensively, then I'll switch. You guys will be the first to know. But up until then, I'm using reset mode, and I have my iceberg set at 1 minute. I have my stop set at 10 seconds. So when I'm in 1 minute, I just give it more chance to develop. Stops are usually instantaneous. 10 seconds is probably too long, but I think that's accurate. And I've used those settings for the entire time I've been using Bookmap. So we're talking 4.5 years. All right, 120.06 is the top of the zone. Let's get this in the spreadsheet and see how we'll potentially trade this.
Nat gas iceberg by NG, 153 contracts.
Got some nat gas action. We'll go over there in a second. Because I understand a lot of people don't have the bandwidth to be watching 17 markets or even 5 markets, right? But you don't want to be just pigeonholing yourself into the crappy ES like a lot of you do. Have different options, so when the markets suck, that market sucks, you can go do something, you can trade something else instead of forcing trades in a terrible market, which it's been for a month and a half, like literally a month and a half. I talked to Dr. Brett Steenbarger. He's the guy, that the trading psych. He's like one of the top trading psychologists in the world now. He works for a bunch of hedge funds now. He said the hedge funds are getting killed too. Like nobody's making money because of how bad the trade's been. Like everybody's just getting whipsawed to dust. So trade the last couple of months has been horrific. All right. So if you've been struggling, don't be flip-flopping. If you think you have an edge, you got to ride out the bad times is what I'm saying. Like don't just every time you have a losing day or two, don't be like, this doesn't work, I'm moving on to something else, right? Like you got to know when the environment sucks, and that might be the reason why your strategy is not working as well, right? All right, so to make this a short setup, this needs to touch 10, last 2 digits, with the current ATR. The current ATR in here, I just put in there is 62. That's a lot. 6.2, it means it's rotating 62 ticks. So I don't know what this is until it can either punch out of here to 1711 or 10. The last 2 digits is 10. Or if it gets above here to 69, right? So that would be way up here. This is how I determine what the setup is, if whether it's bullish or bearish. That would be a bullish setup. 10 is right here. That would be a bearish setup. So we will keep an eye on this market and see how this develops. Potentially put a trade on there. Let's see what's going on here. All right, I'm still long. It still has not gotten out of this most recent volume event. So you can see if someone came in and swiped these on that tape bomb, and then that triggered these stops. Actually, did this go lower? Hold on, I may not have this drawn correctly. Yeah, I mean this started here. I can move this down a little bit. So these swipes came in. Whoever's sweeping the order book, they get first right, and then the stops come in after. They don't get, so whatever price that starts. So I technically should start this where the sweep started. That's the full 2 points lower. Or I just keep it on where the buyers
The US
came
is to
in.
sell $57 billion in 3-month bills on May the 8th to settle on May the 11th.
I don't think did I draw this incorrectly too? Hold on.
And the US is to sell $48 billion in 6-month bills on May the 8th to settle on May the 11th.
This needed to be a little higher. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to make this one big zone. Hold on a second. I'm going to incorporate those stops. I should have done that to begin with. Why is this not? Where is my... There it is. All right, sorry, I drew that wrong. It doesn't matter right now, but it could have mattered. All right, and I'm going to incorporate these stops too, just because the whole idea of this is of drawing these zones, we're trying to find concentrated volume events where traders are loaded up, right? So the sellers ran into... Actually, this is the wrong color anyway. The buyers ran into a bunch of... So you had stop runs, so sellers got kind of run over. The resting sellers in the order book got run over on these swipes. Then the buyers tried to be aggressive and they ran in the mouth of a sell ice. Well, okay, that's confusing. It's like, okay, well, which way is it going to break? I don't know. I don't know until I see what's happening. But I do know that these volume events, there's a lot of invested traders in this area, and that's what I trade off of, right? Because when it moves out of here, that's likely going to result in the big move, a bigger move, because you got all this energy stored up in here, guys holding their breath, and whatever ways that breaks out of here, that's the move. All right, so I'm going to move this down. Move it down to here. So that means I'm going to have to change my stop price, but that's all right. I'd rather have an accurate zone. So that was down to 73, 75 in the top of the zone. This is a pretty large zone. And again, this is kind of a delayed double whammy. The money puke into the sell ice. Let's make this dark blue. I just do this so I know what kind of a volume event it was, right? I mean, it's not crucially important. You just need to know there was a volume event there. But like I say, double whammies are usually in the direction of the ice. So we got two of them actually. This one and this one. This one did hold. That's why I got long. All right, so this is the newest one. Let's just get this updated zone in there. 83, 40, 83, down to 73, 75. I'm gonna have to adjust my stops on that because I'm long. If you remember. So this will have 2 ticks. 407, 3.75. And then make sure your ATR is up to date, 7.50. All right, so now my stop goes down to 65 quarter. Instead of what I have it at 60, I had it at 67.75, so I'm just moving it down 2 points. But then...
Dow Ice Iceberg Sell YM, 101 contracts.
I do not like to stop out. Not that I don't like it. I don't like it because it hurts me so many times in the middle of a zone. So if I'm getting out at 65.75, I'm smack dab in the zone. So I'm going to move it out of that zone. So I'm moving it down another 2 points. You don't always get this situation, but I just don't want to stop out in the zone. So I'll stop out at 63 instead. So, which is basically the low of the RTH, regular trading hours. So I'm going to move that. That was just me I didn't spend enough time drawing the proper zone there, right? So the zone should have been lower, and then I'm not going to stop out in this zone should have been lower. Let's just make this a different color because it gets confusing when you see these colors in here. What is the deal? Let's try this again. I'll try to answer some questions because I'm sure there's some confused traders on here that have never been in these webinars. As I've done about 500 webinars for Bookmap in the last 4 years, so you can go back and watch any of those. And if you're not following or it's too fast for you right now, and then my room, I've recorded every webinar I've done since my room inception over 2 years ago. There's 500 plus webinars in there. So, you know, it does feel like I'm doing all this intricate stuff. I'm really not. This is just very basic what I'm doing, and that's how I want to keep it. I tell you guys all the time, the simpler you can make your trading, the better you're going to do. We're looking for volume events. We have distinct rules for trading those volume events. I know there's an edge. I've watched the edge for over thousands of setups. I put the trades on, and I know where I stop out. And the target's the only thing that are subjective, and we'll go over some targets if we get any of these trades moving our way. But that's about the only thing that's subjective, and that's more for the position trading targets. The ATR reversion trade targets that I was talking about this trade, these are all, everything's in here. You don't have to use, because so many traders don't want to use their brain for some reason. Well, this one is pretty brainless.
Gold stop sell GC, 159 contracts.
I don't know if I have the energy to go to gold, especially during stops. We'll look at that possibly. All right, so we're just waiting for these markets to do something. This is stuck in its zone. Nasdaq's still in this zone that I'm short from. So this has been the routine lately on these webinars. You know, it looks like things are going to be rolling, and then the market just stop, and they just sit in the zones for the hour that we're on the webinar, hour and a half we're on the webinar. Let's see if we got any questions. Scott, new to watching you. Why would you wait to go long ES above the current price? Because those are my rules based on my areas, right? So, you know, so many traders they see the buy ice, right? So they're like, all right, well, this buying wasn't real. That was a stop run. Actually, this was sell ice anyway. But that would be like me just saying, okay, I see sell ice and I want to short. Well, this was the big thing when this first all came out. Like you had all these competitors for Bookmap trying to dispel the subchart. So this is the most powerful thing I've ever seen in 23 plus years of futures trading. By far, bar none, it's the edge of all edges, right? Well, when it first came out, there was people were misunderstanding what I was saying when I, you know, with my course and talking about on webinars. They thought that I meant every time you see buy ice, you want to be buying. When you see sell ice, you want to be selling. That is not the case. I say you want to pay attention. Yes, there's a higher likelihood when the big money steps in that the market's going to go up.
NQ stock
right?
by NQ, 214 contracts.
All right, there's
Crude
Stops
ice
and
iceberg by CL,
We got
158 contracts.
What else? But I wait to see. I don't know what this is going to do, right? Yeah, I know sell ice came in. There's probably a better chance that it holds and moves lower. But I have distinct rules, and I need to see those things occur for me to determine which way I'm trading that setup, right? So that's why I just don't hop in the minute I see something, because I don't know what it is. That's why I force. If the market can show me it can get an ATR, a 5-minute ATR out of the zone this way, well, then that tells me that it's a much more likely to rip higher. Same to the downside. So that's why I just don't go long right off the bat when I see like buy ice. This setup down here, I did get long aggressively on one of the strategies because it was in an important inflection zone that I showed you guys. And those where I'll get long, but I don't get long right in the zone. I still wait for it to move out an ATR out of the zone. I just don't wait for the retest. But we got the retest as well, and I put on a different strategy. But this was this zone. Actually, that's the 5-minute. You can still see the zone, but this is better to see. So I just know how powerful these inflection zones, and I post these every day in my trading room. So that's another perk you get in my room. If you could draw these yourself, but this takes me 45 minutes every morning, so you can see my trade room here. I have the zones every morning I post, so you can go in here and pop up this chart, right? Open original, open in browser, and you can get these zones for yourself, right? So this is a very important part of my trading and trade room as well. But anyway, I know those zones are really important, and you can see it just ripped right out of that one. So
S&P stock by ES, 582 contracts.
So I got stopped out of the NQ short, but I'm obviously long ES, and now this is the perfect scenario where now I get a new volume event. Now I could trail my stop to this new volume event, right? So I'm already long. Now, what most traders do is like, oh, this is moving in my favor. I'm moving my stop to break even. Okay, guys, please don't do that. This is what these algos know. That's what traders do, and that's what this is, right? I'm going to trail my stop now, but I'm trailing it based on a new volume event. And quite the shocker there that actually, I don't know why I didn't put on the liquidity trade here too. I don't know what I'm looking at. This should have been the lick trade too from down here, guys and girls. I'm going to get rid of this right now. It's just because it's a huge zone. I don't need it right now because of this new one. But I should have put on the Izzy and the barf down here, and I should put on the lick. I don't know what I was doing. Lick is, remember we just talked about this, because these things are magnets, the big money, once they're fills, they'll force this market into their orders, right? That was this event. It did this. We put on Izzy and we put on barf. I should have put on lick too, and I would have been out right at the liquidity. That was a nice 25 point trade that I just missed on that for that strategy. I'm still long the other ones, but I missed a trade as usual. All right, so this is the new volume event. So yeah, this was not threshold, but this was. So I don't need to draw. You could incorporate both these. I don't need to. I'm going to draw the most recent. This was threshold on top of it. 644. My thresholds for ES are 500 for stops, meaning I only draw the volume events that are 500 or more. Those are worthy of trading. I'm going to draw that. So this started, you can see, yes, these swipes started here, these sweeps, I call them swipes sometimes, Bruce doesn't like that, but they started here. But guess what? That's not where the stops were, because if the stops were anywhere in these price areas, they would have triggered. They didn't trigger until the market got up here, so that's why I draw my zone there versus here, right? Again, I know this is confusing to a lot of newer traders, but you know, I do this every day, twice a day in my trading room. If you want to learn how to do it, head on over there, because this is all I do. I wake up in cold sweats in my sleep drawing zones and coloring them. So you will learn how to draw these. All right. So the top of the zone is 40.90.50. The bottom is 86.75. Let's get that in there, and I'm going to trail my stop, and I can trade off of this event as well potentially. Right, so of course I already forgot what it was. 90.50. 86.75. And then you got current ATR is 7.96. So this is welcome. We have not seen this. This ATR has been like a 3 for the last month and a half. It's just been horrific. All right, let's hurry up and get this stop in. All right, so you know, if I was trading off of this new setup, all my prices are in there. I can go long at 99.75 aggressively or whatever. We'll go over that. But I know my stop's now at 77.50. So I'm moving my stop now. Remember, I was at 60. What did I say? 64. 63. So now I get to move my stop up 14 points. I just deleted that volume event because it was monstrous, and I know it's confusing, but it was here. Remember, I had my stop below there, and then I put it through this back down below this volume event. Well, now I get to move it all the way up here, which is an ATR plus 15% below this volume event. So if this comes back, I'm basically going to scratch the trade, but I'm scratching the trade not because I just want to break even and not lose money after the up move, because of something that happened in the market. Right? It just makes my skin. I even heard some educators, like I'll see like a webinar once in a while, because I'm always learning. If I hear a great idea, I'll be like, that's interesting. Yeah, you hear educators. Well, a portion of this I'm going to move to break even. For what reason? Why are you moving it to break even? The market doesn't care what you want to make or lose. The market cares about events and volatility. So stop doing that. I'm telling you, it's amazing to me when, especially the guys that are educating people, telling people to do that. That's just, it doesn't make any sense. The market does not care where you want to break even, right? So why would you move your stop there? So you can get algoed? All right, 77.50 is where this stop's being trailed to. It was at 63. You get to move it up 14.5 points. So that's trailed. I'm going to trail this one. And that's trailed. Actually, I'll make a little bit. I got in at 73.75. So the worst I'm going to do here is make what am I doing here? 4 points, right? Because I originally got in at 73.75. So I'll make 3 3/4 points. If it keeps going, I got them on, and I could trade this setup as well, right? Let's see where we're at. I think this may be an Izzy on the upside, though, so I could potentially short this if it moves out of here. No, so it just ripped through. So I'm deleting this zone now, too. So you have these zones, but if the market, trades through it, it's not relevant. The market's not reacting to it anymore. I'm done with it. So I'm going to get rid of this. So hopefully my room's watching this and adjust and get this zone off of your chart because you don't need it. So these are the two important zones. I'm very interested
Gold
in this
Ice Iceberg Sell GC, 153 contracts.
In here, I'll be getting out of most of my longs. Most likely, we got to look at the low big levels too. But then I potentially short. Remember what I talked about how this market ripped down through. This market closed here yesterday, gapped right through this zone. This is going to be a great zone to fade. And remember, the ADD is still, I'm sure it's improving a little bit, but it's still not great, right? It's not terrible, but the point is, if this was trend down, different story, but, it's still negative. So, these up moves may be shorter lived and then bigger down moves, right? And I already know I want to short this zone on a retest because it was an important zone. This is where all this stuff started here. This was directional conviction down, and then it led to this huge move up, gapped right through it, opened up at it, and then directional conviction down today. This is going to be a really good zone to get out of my longs and turn around short if I get
Gold
a volume
stocks,
setup.
stocks LGC, 165
There's a lot
contracts.
going on all of a sudden. I'm not gonna complain about it because I'm finally getting some damn trade after all these last 2 months. This is 7.74. All right, so we're not there yet. So I wouldn't take an Izzy trade here, but I still could short this if I get my criteria. If it does that, then I'll go short. That's how I trade these, and it's but from experience of watching thousands of these. I tell you guys every single webinar. This is the art. This is the science. The art is how you trade these. You may say, oh, I don't need to wait for that. I'm getting in right now. Kind of like whoever just asked that. Trade them however you want. It would behoove you, if you're just starting with these, if you haven't seen a bunch of them, you might want to trade my style until you see enough of them, and then you can tailor it the way you want to trade them. But this is from me watching about 15 million of these, so you can decide if you want to take my advice and trade them the way I do, or trade them however you want to trade them. There's no disputing there was 600 stop runs here. How you want to trade that information
Saudi
is up to
Arabia
you.
sets the June Arab light crude oil
You can take
OSP to
what
the
I do,
Northwest
and you
Europe
can,
at plus
like I said, tailor it to
$2.10
what
a
you're
barrel.
doing. So on
To the
and so
ICE
forth.
Brent
Regarding
settlement
this trade, so
sources.
we'll come back to that.
According to sources and the Saudi Arabia
That's
setting the
natural
June
gas.
Arab light crude oil OSP to the United
All right, so I
States
did
at
stop out
plus
of there was some more NASDAQ stuff here, so let's
$6.25.
get this zone drawn. I stopped out of that short. And you guys, this is what trading is. It's probabilities. You're going to have losing trades. If you have an edge, you put on enough, you're gonna be a winner. You're being a winning trader. I put this strategy on. I did nothing wrong. It did exactly what I did. I already did that once. That's where I got short the barf trade, and it blew up and stopped me out. Well, that's fine. And then I put on the barf trade the other way in the ES and the Izzy trade. So I'm long that. Got knocked out of this one. On to the next trade. This is what trading is. Like, there's just all these misconceptions that, oh yeah, I want to make $500 a day. Yeah, you can average $500 a day. If you think you're going to get in here and make $500 every day, like it's your job, it's not going to happen, right? You're going to have. It's just the nature of markets, especially if you're trading more position trading. You're going to have losses. It's not just you just print money every day. It's just not going to happen. So if you can get that out of your head, you're ahead of the crowd. All right, I'm sick of staring at this. Remember, so my stop's at 77.75. If it stops me out, then I make 4 points on to my next trade. I heard some crude stuff. Let's go over to crude. Let's look at bigger picture. I don't know why that market swiped down $4 yesterday at the Globex. I didn't know the bank information was that crucial to crude, but it doesn't matter what I think. Here, this looks like nothing happened. This thing literally, if you go look at you can look at the 5 minute, this thing came all the way down to here yesterday. And then just snapped all the way back. And then you look at this, you're like, oh, it looks pretty boring, except for the
NQ stocks,
$8
stop, sell
swing.
NQ, 159 contracts.
All right, we got to set up in NQ. This market's just bouncing in between these two zones right now. Pretty quiet, so I'll come back here to crude and we'll draw the zone and see how we're going to play it, if we're going to play it. So I think this was threshold. Actually, I'll just draw this real quick. So you can see here the buy ice came in. Let me make sure I got this on reset because I was experimenting with the. I told you it's on reset. Remember, I said I got it at. I don't want it at 1 second. I was experimenting with that too. This is 1 minute. This is 30 seconds. All right. So 200. So I had it at 1 second. You can see it did show this iceberg. It's 200, so it actually did all come in 1 second. But this is how I'm drawing them right now, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Because if it's not broke, don't fix it. Said it like 10 times today. All right, that's that. What was this? This was the threshold.
It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We get the US 4-week bill auction, prior bid cover of 2 to 50, and a
for
prior
another tape
high
on
yield
here,
of
too.
3.83%.
It's like they come in waves and they start coming out. Like there's going to be another one today, so you can bet your bottom dollar on that. You just got to hope it's not in the opposite of your position. That one webinar, remember I traded double size. I love the short, totally bearish, put on double size in all my strategies, and then Bullard.
Western Alliance Bangkok says it is not exploring a sale, nor has it hired an advisor to explore strategic options.
All right, that's your zone there. We'll come back to that. Let's see what happened in NASDAQ. Did I stop out of my... I have not stopped. I got close to my stop. Now I'm about to... Was it 77 quarter? Hold on. Because I've not stopped out yet. I think I might have put the wrong price in for the CS stop. I did. 77.75. I just got lucky. I think I traded there. I had my stop at 77 quarter, so I just moved it back up to 77.75. So that's about to fill anyway. Did I trade there the first time? No, didn't get there yet, but flirting with a stop out. So what's happening now in this
Net gas ice iceberg by NG 154 contracts.
Sure, your ATR is correct, 7.9. Right. So did this confirm it as a short setup? Remember, I want to see an ATR out of the zone. 78.75. That definitely got to 78.75. Right there. There's your ATR. This is a bearish setup. Does it mean I'm going short right now? No. If this was a Izzy, I would, but there's no Izzy up here. So the only thing I got going right here is BARF, I think. Let's see if there's any. I keep forgetting to look at the lugs, which are very important. Let's see here. Nothing really doing here. I'm just bounce around VWAP, bounce around baby lug. I call these minor lugs baby lugs, and then just bouncing off of yellow. So let's come up with a bigger picture here too. I got to get these price points off here. It's driving me nuts, these lines. But anyway, so you come up with a thesis based on your market profile every day too, or you should be. So you're looking at your bar charts for the structure stuff, the inflection zones that I've talked about. Well, what's going on here? Well, this was a market profile composite where you have multiple days merged together. The value area of multiple days. What's the value area? It's just where 70% of the trade occurred. You merge them together in there, and they become very important areas, right? So you can see this market open up in here. It had gapped down. It closed here. Closed right at the point of control of this guy yesterday. Gapped down and then ripped right out of here. Just came back, tested it, failed. So actually, I should have been out. I just made a big mistake here. I should have been out. This is one of the areas. If you look here, this is when I get my trading room where I talked about subjective exits. So I just made a big mistake. This is probably going to cost me 15 points. So you can see number 5 here. This is straight out of trading in the zone. I mean, I've added my own stuff, but all this stuff is about the probability stuff and about how you have to trade like a casino. Maybe we'll go on this rant in a little bit if it's dead. But these are the areas I pay myself as the market makes money available to me. Ludwig levels, market profile, composite highs, lows, POCs. That's what I just missed. I just missed the exit. I would have got out of half of these contracts. If I'm lucky enough and it comes back up there again, I'll get out. I mean, technically, I should probably get out here, but I'm going to see if it can bounce back off of this log. That is a reason this is a market profile composite low. Broke out, retested, failed. I should have been out right there. Not all of them, right? Because I will hold a piece, try to get to the red lug or an opposing volume event. We got the opposing volume event, so I'm going to cost
UBS
myself
is
here.
Currently reviewing options for the
15 points
Swiss
on this
unit
trade,
of Credit
because I
Suisse,
just wasn't paying
including
attention to
IPO,
that.
according
I
to
didn't know where we
sources.
were. That's another thing you guys need to do every single morning before you start trading. You eyeball all your if-then scenarios, know where your important area. I should have known 40.92 right in that area was an important area, and that's what got real close to there. I should have been out. Now you're going to watch me cost myself 15 points because I wasn't on top of my game. I would have been on half of my contracts right there. Right when this popped in, I would have been out. So now I'm about to get stepped out and cost myself 15 points. So that's user error right there. Now you can at least hear me complain the rest of the webinar about that. But that's why that stopped right there. So today's trade. I did that. So I'm giving myself an F on that one. Maybe I'll get lucky, but it's about 100% I will not get lucky. So I'm hoping we do the normal. I mean, what do I say? What's very likely going to happen? This is going to retest the zone. If this comes back anywhere
11:30
near here,
a.m.
I'm getting
Eastern
out of
Time, we
half
get
my-
the US 4-week bill
half mine
auction,
before I
prior
get
bid
stopped out.
cover of
I'm
2
not
to
holding
50,
my
and a
breath on
prior
that,
high
so
yield of 3.83%.
give myself an F on that one. You see it? I mean, you 23 years I've been trading, I still make the same stupid mistakes. It gets real old, I can tell you that. All right. I thought I heard something in NQ. I guess not. Let's see. You know, I should know. Go look at my alerts page, and that'll tell me. Okay, what did I miss? This was at 10:18 Central. Oh, you know why? My stops. Why are my stops not? Why don't I have my stops on here? That's kind of important. So that was this. I think that just retested this zone too. So watch this. Tell me if you guys have seen this routine. I'm almost positive. I know it is because, again, I always miss the easy winning trades. There we go. That's that. That is that. Let's get this yellow for stops. I try to use yellow away from my stop runs. I don't use orange because it blends in with the liquidity, and I'm colorblind, and it's hard enough for me to see these things as it is. That's that. So let's see if this market retested this zone. Moved above it. Did it come back to the zone? Hey, whoa, what do you know? Do you guys see why we're playing the reversion trade? I mean, look at that. It's just, it's my strategy, and I still am amazed by it, how often it happens. It's just unbelievable. There's your stop run. This looks like the ATR is 20, and this is, so why? We'll just watch. We'll put the values in the zone. I could still go long this on the BARF, but this is like the 6th or 7th ATR trade that I've seen on this webinar. That my room better be killing it today, and so I got to tell them, or they're all going to be in the doghouse. All right, let's put the zone in. 73.75 down to 65. That's the most recent threshold volume event. Down to 65. ATR in here is 25.38. So if I was going to take that reversion, we were talking about these 1 ATRs, I would have been at 96.50, stop out at 27. I'm playing for 76.25. So it's basically I'm playing for 20 points, right? So 96.50. Let's see. Let's take a peek. This was 96.50. Let's see if the 2 would have worked too. So you can do the 2 ATRs too. That did not get up there. But my stop was at 27, so I never would have been stopped out. So I would have entered at 96.50. This is a reversion trade that I'm talking about. I'm not taking on these webinars because I can't keep up. I would have been short there. Stop was way up here. You play for a reversion back to the volume event. Hey, what do you know? We're right back there. This is like number 6 or 7 today. So if this moves back out of here, I can go long this as well. This is the BARF trade, the blind ATR retest failure of any volume event. I can go long at, this is the position. And I just got stopped at a VS. That's splendid. Cost myself 15 points. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Shortly expecting the results of the 4-week bill auction.
4.
I'll lead with the bid to cover ratio.
So that hurt right there. 15 points in the ES lately is like a lot for how bad the ATR has been, and I just blew that one. So you got to be on top of your game, man. I tell you guys every single webinar, you are competing against the brightest minds.
Soybean ice iceberg buys ES 152 contracts.
All right, so I'm out of those shorts. I got nothing on right now. If this does retest failure, I will go short. Yes, like I said, I should have been on a half my position up there, and I messed that up. So, all right, let's been here a lot of grain stuff. Actually, we're getting close to. Let me see if you guys got any questions. Getting close to the ECB. That's what everyone can't stand, randomness, and they get out. Exactly. That's exactly it. People can't take it. If you understand it's going to happen, then you're just ready for it. Let's see here. Just heard us set up in. I'm not seeing it on here though. Just make sure these are on reset for now. That's not threshold. Why? Not sure why I got the alert there. Not seeing that. Does it not get to 150? You guys got any other questions? Throw them in before I hop on. I don't know why that gave me an alert. That's very strange. It never happens. That they cannot get up to 150. Didn't get to 150 on sliding mode either, so I'm not sure what happened there. Or maybe it did right here. Yeah, 153. So I could draw. I'll probably draw this on and trade off it. I'm not going to get into it right now because we're at the end of the webinar. But that is it's real close. The reset mode is not there, so I'm probably not even going to draw it actually. Now that I think about it, because I'm trying to stay on reset and be consistent. All right. Any other questions? What is the red versus the white zone? Well, I don't have any red zones. I use yellow and white. Red is liquidity in the order book, so it's just showing where there's heavy resting liquidity, like right here. Like this is a better look. So it's just a heat map of what's going on in the dome, in the depth of market. This is the dome. These are the resting orders, right? So you can see the size is at that liquidity. So it's just showing you where there's outsized size in the order book. These
Bid
things
cover
act,
ratio,
especially
2
the
to
longer they've been
51,
in
2
here,
to
they act like
51.
magnets. This is the big money. The big money runs the show. The big money will
High
push
yield,
this into the orders. So the longer it's
5.84%,
been in here, you know it's not
5.84%.
liquidity
US
pulling,
sells
pushing,
$51
pulling.
billion
Like this
in
is
4
liquidity
week
that's,
bills and
you see it
awards
and it's gone. You see it, it's gone. That's algos
41.15%
messing
of
with
bids
people.
that high.
This is legitimate orders that want to be filled. So this is like the lick trade, like I said, I missed in the ES. I was supposed to take that trade too. So I made two different huge mistakes in the ES today. I was supposed to put the lick long on, right? That was this liquidity that I was saying. Why did I not see that? And it doesn't look as important now, but it was definitely on here. And then I messed up with that stop or that market profile composite. But anyway, that's the red. I draw the zones, for stop runs, yellow and white, just so I can tell the difference. Michael, are you not part of my
Russell
trade?
Ice Iceberg by
Why are you
RT.
taking questions in here?
151
Red versus
contracts.
white zone for the inflection zone. How do you know which zones become invalid? Is it just market has traded through them? Yeah, so I'm just using, for my inflection zones, I just make some white just to separate them. Like I can't, sometimes they blend. And I'm like, well, where does one start and where does one end? There's no significance other than that, right? And you invalidate them when I just showed you how I took out that one on ES. When it trades up and through it a couple times, it's not relevant. You want to see the market react. If the market keeps reacting to them, then I'll keep them. But like this one, this was over here earlier. So I had it based on this gap up, right? And I said we traded down, we traded through it. It's done. This one I'm keeping. We launched here, did trade through it to the downside, but if this comes up and trades through it again, then this one's going to be deleted. But I think what's going to happen is it comes here and rejects, even if it gets up there. But yeah, it's subjective, but this is why, until you learn them, you can get these zones in my room and you can start to learn to draw them yourself. The whole idea of my trade room is to learn how to trade for yourself, not to mirror me. Take my ideas, expand on them if you want, do whatever you want. And then the other thing that we didn't really get to, I try to talk about it every webinar because this thing it's ridiculous, is this Apex Trader funding, right? So you guys, they just had a huge sale. There's going to be another one. There always is. Now they have a sale on the resets. But anyway,
Dow Ice Iceberg sell YM. 102 contracts.
But these are a great way to have skin in the game where you're not just trading a simulator where you still do stupid crap. You're like, oh, I don't care. It's not real money. If you blow out of these things, it's still real money. You still got to up the money. You're losing a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of what you would lose if you're actually trading. So highly recommend. I usually do the 150s. I did of course, the one live one I got on, I did that, and now I got to trade half size on that one. But you just got to hit these parameters, right? So like if you do the 50,000, you got to make 3,000 before you lose 2,500.
U.S. Treasury.
One thing that I don't like
bill,
about these
high
is they
yield,
say
it's a record
it's a
high of
$50,000 account,
5.84%.
but you can only lose $2,500. So that's not a $50,000 account. That's a $2,500 account in my view, right? So anyway, just know, and what makes these kind of difficult is as you make money, then you have this trails. So you can be up, and I've had this happen many times, and let's use this one as a better example. You could be up when I first did these. So I did these originally to show my trading room. I wanted to qualify, make sure they're legit, because this came from a very well-known trader, $1 million trader that told me about this stuff. and it told me about Apex and said they were legit to check it out. So I wanted to qualify myself, get paid to make sure they did everything legit before I put my name behind them, which they did and still do. I've been doing this for over a year. I've been with Apex for over a year as far as trading them and so on and so forth. So anyway, for the first couple ones that I did, I'd be up like $7,000, right? I'd be close to my $9,000 profit goal, and then I would pull back the $5,000. I'd still be up 2,000 net, but I blow out of the account because this is a trailing. That's what makes it hard. So it teaches you trade management and P&L management. But the point is, you get half off this. Use Pulcini 50, right? Like I said, that's the code, and it works for any of their sales. So you always have it in there. When you go in there too, make sure you check this because they added this in because they just rushed through this and they wouldn't put the code in, right? So you have to say I agree. So you put in Pulcini 50, and you got to put I agree, or if you don't want to use it, because people will put it in and then not, or forget to put the code in, and then email Apex and be like, well, I wanted to use the code. So if you're clicking this, you're saying I agree not to use a code. Why else would in your right mind, why would you not use a code for the discount? But that's the code. So you get half off, and then you can use these. And like I said, I'm using all of these accounts. Just a quick view of mine for all my different trading strategies, so we can keep track of them on this trader view thing, right? So all my different strategies, you can get all my strategies in the room. That's in here too. So if you come in my room, you can see all the strategies we've been talking about today. They're all over here, right? So here's the dad we put on today, the lick, or the Izzy, the slug. I missed the lick. That was a 20-point winner that I missed. Oh, we didn't put on the slug, sorry, the barf and the Izzy. But these are all, you can get in here and see this is the best one. This is the live one that I've already qualified live for that one. This one's close, the other one, the slug. So it's like if you click on this, you can see all my trades for that. This is the whole idea why I'm doing this, so we can get each individual trade and the winning percentage in the statistics, right? So you can see like what I've made, what my winning percentages is, how long I hold the trades, so you guys get all access to that. But anyway, that's that. So I was going to show you this real quick, and then I got to hop off. The other guy's coming. So these are all the different strategies. Some of them are hovering, but this is a longer term thing. So it's not, any trading strategy. Hold on, where are we at? Any trading strategy is going to be, wins, losses, and then it's a grind. You're not going to, you're going to have some huge days, but it's a grind. So like this is. I'm not going to get into all these right now. Obviously, I get it off, but this one's close to qualifying. It was much closer. I had a little bit of a drawdown. This one is down a little bit. This is actually the equity. And this one I just cost myself 20 points on, or 15 points, not getting out. So you see, this one's profitable. This one's live. That's profitable. I had the bond trade in that. So a couple of these are hovering, but most of them are profitable, right? So the point is, we're going to have stats for all of these different setups. And I'm using Apex to do that. Because when you're trading somebody else's money, it's a whole different ballgame, right? So it's like when you lose, you're not like panicking. Oh, how am I gonna pay my rent? How am I gonna pay my mortgage? How am I gonna pay my car payment? It's like, yeah, it sucks, especially if you're live. Oh, I'm gonna blow out this account, but it's fine. You blow it out and you start over. You're not blowing out your account and then tell your kids you can't feed them tonight, right? So I highly recommend you use something like that. There's a ton out there. That's the best one I've seen. That's the one I put my name on. If you want to use the other ones, I don't know enough about them. I know a couple of them they're complete nonsense and they're just trying to take your money for the fees. So that's what I recommend there. And that's it. I will wait for a retest failure for this. I'll go short if that happens, like we've been talking about. I got nothing else on right now. I will take a long in NASDAQ if it goes retest failure off of this zone. But that's about it. So what you're seeing today is I do daily in my webinar. I keep forgetting every single webinar. I forget to put my contact information. And there's my website. Everything's on here as well. Right? Everything you need's on here. Everything I use is on here too, except for Ludwig levels, but I showed you how to get to there. You get discounts to Bookmap. If you click on that, there's the Apex. Spot Gamma, there's no discounts for that, but you get an extra week of the hero there. Here's the tick strike that I was talking about. That's this. These are all discounts, and then you need to be using something like this. This is the best one I've seen, Trader Sync. You get discounts to that as well. And then here's the old little book I was in. If you want to read that, this is Dr. Brett I was talking about. Sat behind me for a year. throughout this whole book. You can read about my exploits, my glory days, making millions, which I'm on my way back to. It's going to take some time because I don't have a major trading firm behind me to back me for thousands of contracts. But next best thing is Apex as far as I'm concerned. So, all right, guys. Hopefully you learned. Any questions? My email is scott@scottpulcinitrader.com. Other than that, you can see me in my room. Other than that, I'll see you next Thursday.